Okay. Welcome to the Why Music podcast, where we talk to independent artists about their journeys, their inspirations behind their music, and ultimately why they make music. This next artist is taking us back to the 80s with his synths and composition style. He's a Colombian composer and saxophonist turned indie artist with an out of this world production style that you'll never forget. Welcome, Mars.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So, why don't we kind of kick off with how your music journey began? Like, what got you started in pursuing music?
Okay. So this is kind of um weird, but it if I think about it, it doesn't really start in music. It starts in soccer actually, because it was my first plan for life when I was a kid was to be a soccer player, just like every uh, kid in Colombia and in Latin America where I grew up. That's very common to want to be a soccer player. My dad, of course, wanted it for me. But at some point, well, I was playing kind of semi-pro for my age, and I was doing pretty well. And at some point, I got injured. I got a knee injury, which sounds like a meme, but it's true. It's true. I got an injury, and they said to me that I couldn't play soccer for 4 years. Um, I remember that day was terrible. It was one of the worst days in my life. I was like 12 or 13, something like that. And it was serious for me because soccer was everything in my life. So I just remember the doctor telling me, and I started crying. So I was like, it was kind of weird because at 12 I was like, oh my god, what am I gonna do with my life? And I don't know if that's a question that a 12-year-old should be asking themselves. It's like too early to start thinking about those things. And but I was like, yeah, what do I do? uh and I guess I started just having more free time because I couldn't go to training. It started to hurt a lot to run. Um, so I started getting into like initially, like Guns N' Roses, Aerosmith, that those kinds of bands, and I was like, oh my god, this cool. These guys are awesome. These guys are super cool. And then I was like, oh, Slash is the greatest guitar player ever. uh, that's what I used to think back then. So I was like, yeah, I want to do this. I have to do this. I want to be a guitar player and play awesome guitar solos like Slash. So then I decided to do it, and I started working towards it. Basically, that's where it all started.
So then, how did it go from learning guitar and taking on that kind of role where it turned into, like, how did it turn into you writing music and releasing music and all that other stuff?
So I started playing. Of course, at that time, my process of thought was like I have to have a band. So I put together a band with my friends. Was kind of funny because they were like my friends, but they didn't play any instruments, so they just learned so they could play with me, which looking back was pretty cool, was awesome, like an awesome gesture of them. And I remember the other guitar player, I taught him how to play, the other guitar player in the band. So we put together a band. It was called Master Bullet. It was a thrash metal band because of course I evolved from Guns N' Roses to like, then I started to like 80s rock, but then I was like into my thrash era. So I was like Megadeth, Metallica, Exodus, Slayer, all of those bands, Overkill. um and then I just kept doing it, and I loved it every minute. I love it loved it so much. And then I one day I started getting to prog music, and I discovered Dream Theater. And I was like, okay, these dudes, I like their music, but not only I like their music, I think they are incredibly skilled at what they do. So that was kind of a different kind of fan. I was fan both of how they play, what they do, but also they're fan of them kind of academically in music. And I was like, I wonder where these guys went to study. And I that's how I discovered Berkeley. And I was like, oh, okay, all these people that studied in Berkeley. So that's the place I have to go. That's where I want to study. And I was like 15 when I thought of that. I remember visiting the US and seeing it so far. I stood up out of the Berkeley building in Boston, and I was like, oh my God, I have to go here. I was with a couple of family friends, and I just graduated on December of last year from Berkeley. And they recently told me that they saw me looking at the building, and I said to them, I'm going to come here one day. And they were like, all right, okay, sure you are. And so they didn't really believe me. And then, yeah, it happened.
Wow. Um, so then at what point did it turn from I'm in this band? Like when did it turn from Master Bullet to Mars? When was that kind of transition?
Uh, that happened starting in Colombia. So when I finished high school, I went to get a performance, let's say, I would say it's an associate's degree, something like that, at a place, at a music school in Colombia. So I was getting my, uh, I was studying to have a performance certificate in guitar. And I had, by then I had already been in a couple bands, but I realized, and this is just something that it's so personal, but I realized that the more people you have involved in a project, the less is likely to succeed. So because the more people you have in a project, the more visions have to be aligned, you know.
Hmm.
uh, so I was like, I have to go solo. I have and I started thinking, if I go solo, I can really do whatever I want to do. And that idea was just like mind blowing for me. I was like, oh my God, it's just like free, uh like creation and 100% creative control. I love it. So I started M.A.R.S back then. And so I studied guitar performance, but then of course M.A.R.S started to have a lot of influence by the things I was studying, by how my life went. And then I got into film scoring, and I also got into synthwave. But I kind of, in a way, found a way to connect all of them. So yeah, that's how it happened.
So where does the name come from?
So the name is my initials. My full name is Mateo Andres Rodriguez Sandoval. Um, and there's so when I discovered, like I don't remember. I just one day was thinking of random stuff, uh, which is probably where the best ideas come from, I think. Uh, and I was thinking of random stuff, and I was like, my initials. What are my initials? Like what is the acronym? And it's M.A.R.S. And I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool that if you pronounce my initials, then it's a planet. Uh, and and then I don't like, I'm not an astrology person and all of that, but there's a fun fact that is kind of related to that, that is related to astrology. And I don't believe in that and all of that, but it's kind of fun, because I'm an Aries, and my ruling planet is supposed to be Mars, and my initials are Mars. And I was born in March. with which in French I think is literally Mars. So it's like,
It's like it was meant to happen.
yeah, exactly. I was like, wow, that's kind of cool that all those things connected.
And
So
at
yeah,
that point, you can't choose anything else but Mars to be your name. Like it, there's a
yeah,
sign. It
exactly.
has
I
to
was
be.
like,
It
this
just
has
has
to
to
be the
be.
name.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Um, so kind of pivoting more to the kind of music and stuff that you write. Um, you have a very wide kind of style of writing. Like I was listening back and there was like some that sounds like it's straight out of the 1980s. There's some that like the main instruments that you hear sound more like strings and it sounds more like scoring and stuff. And so with all that being said, what do you think most often inspires your writing?
So I would say in the first place in that category, it would be other music. What inspires me when I listen to something and I say, wow, that song is amazing. I have to like reverse engineer it. I have to see what how they achieved that sound, what tempo is it, what rhythmic subdivision they're using, what harmony, what kind of scales they are using for melodies, all of that. So I reverse engineer it and I'm like, wow, I would like to use the same elements to create something of mine. And that's the first inspiration that I get. Of course, a lot of inspiration I get it from just feelings, ways I'm feeling. And at the beginning, M.A.R.S, it was just like I said, it was just free, creative, like freedom, and just I was like feeling like writing like a piece that sounded like I missed someone. That's like Coffee with Grandma. Um, that it was really kind of cheesy sounding with the cello, and it was kind of loving. I was kind of melancholic, so I was like, I'm gonna go for that. And then I was like, oh, I want to write kind of an 80s kind of piece, but I want to incorporate the synths to make it come to the future, let's say. So it was just like me doing whatever I wanted to do. But lately, definitely Mars has shifted more into the 80s kind of synth sound because I have found that's where something that I like a lot uh, connects with my knowledge. And it's like it has the guitar solos, so it comes back to Slash and to me saying at 12, like, I want to get to play epic guitar solos. Of course, they are there. I also started playing saxophone. It has some awesome saxophone solos. So I was like, oh, yeah, this is what I want to do. So yeah, that's
Um,
how it works.
so kind of talking about the variance in your music as well as like how like is there a direction like you lean towards? It's like because looking at your like catalog essentially like some of your older stuff is more towards the film scoring kind of space where it's more in that space, but more recently some of your stuff has been more of the this sounds like it's from the 80s. Is
Mhm.
that like a direction you're heading? Like is that like a is this kind of like a transition or is it kind of just kind of balancing between the two? Like was what is well what sound can people like expect from you moving forward? Is it more 80s? Is it more the other? Can they expect both?
100% the 80s, 100% since 80s pop, that kind of sound. That's what I'm going for. And the process with M.A.R.S, it was kind of a self-discovery. I was still finding, and I'm still finding so many things. And I think until the day I die, I'll still find out. I hope to find out new things to write, new things to be inspired by, and new sounds that I want to explore. But it's definitely gonna go more towards the synth wave kind of 80s pop kind of sound, a lot of some rock guitars there. I actually have like 5 songs waiting to come out. Um, that I have some releases scheduled for them. but it's definitely gonna go more towards that. The old stuff, as I said, it was me going like just living through the film scoring major in Berkeley and just like kind of doing what I felt like doing and putting to work my knowledge, what I was learning. And I love it. I love it so much because it's part of the journey and it's part of discovering myself as an artist, which I think it's incredibly important.
That's yeah, I mean, film scoring is crazy. It's I took a class
Mm.
on it in college and I just people that do that for a living, I'm just amazed. So, but I can totally like describing that music as film scoring is as accurate as describing some of your other stuff as like your 80s pop because it's you could hear that song in like a movie. So, you hit that one on the nose. But with that being said, how would you kind of describe your music outside of like just calling it 80s pop? How would you describe your music for people that have never heard it?
I will describe it as um, well, synthwave. It's a genre that I think fits it really well. Synth pop. It's also another genre, but I would describe it as like kind of 80s kind of hard soft rock meets synths. A lot of it actually sounds like the latest stuff that the Weeknd is doing. If you hear the Weeknd, he's using that sound literally, and he's also going for that vintage kind of concept. So yeah, it's that. It is definitely that. Just I have more guitar solos and more sax solos. Um, but yeah, it's that kind of sound.
Yeah, no, 100%. It might be Grandma's Mini, but one of them sounded like if you put that in like in the mix of like a Weekend album, it would sound like it
Yeah,
kind of like fits right in because he's kind of in that same space right now. So, that's really cool. Um,
thank you.
off of that, is there a release or like is there a release or song that you've like put out that you would say best represents you as an artist, whether that be so far or like a kind of a taste of like what's to expect? Like, what's one song, like, what is the one song that you would pick to be like, this is what you can expect from me as an artist?
Oh, it's really difficult, but I would have to really say it's Killer Squirrels. I don't know if you noticed, but I have a bunch of weird names playing with animals.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like to do crazy stuff, and whenever an idea comes to mind, I'll just I don't know. Let's try and see how it works. Um, so yeah, Killer Squirrels definitely it has it's I love that song so much. As a music listener, I enjoy it so much. Um, it's so 80s. It has the guitar solos. It has the vocals. I love the lyrics are so cheesy, and I love cheesy stuff. Like I have noticed that about myself. It's like love song that starts in a party and then they just drive off together and they just met them each other and it's just awesome, cheesy 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 but awesome too. So yeah, it's definitely Killer Squirrels.
Yeah, do because Killer Squirrels was a random title. I think it's like Ants Don't Skip Leg Day or Ants Skip Leg Day. Where do these titles like I get like they're just like random, but like where do they come in relation with the song? Are they
Well,
related to the song much, or is it just you're having fun with it?
some of them I'm literally just having fun with them and they have no relation. Like for example, Killer Squirrels, it doesn't have anything to do with the story. Like killer squirrels, and then it's like, as I said, a love story that starts at a party, and the
Mhm.
guy is kind of shy, and she's like incredibly beautiful. Um, so yeah, no relation at all. But the other ones, I have one that is called Cute Little Chimpanzees. That is another one that doesn't have any relation. Um, to the actually it does that one. Cute Little Chimpanzees. Well, no, it doesn't, no, it doesn't. uh it's just, no, I was gonna say a weird relation, but no, that's, no, it doesn't have any relation. But ants don't skip leg day and naked cows running around, those two do have relationship. um uh with the lyrics and the story. So ants don't skip leg day, it's all about like the grind and all about you trying to make it,
Mhm.
so it's all about working hard, basically. And I was like, okay, so I do this animals thing. What animal works hard? What animal is known for working hard, for being a hard worker?
It's the
Ants.
ants.
And it's like, I was like, ants what? Ants. And I was like, ants don't skip leg day. And it's like, it's like a representation of, ants just keep on going, they keep on working, and that's what they do. And naked cows running around came from, I remember I was with uh with an ex, going on a car trip, and I saw a bunch of cows. And like my mind just goes to random places. I'm pretty sure you have noticed throughout this conversation. But I just saw a bunch of cows, and I was like so worried about my future. And I was like, damn, these cows, they are not worried about anything. They are just worried about the moment. They live in the present. They don't think like I do. Like
Mhm.
I think about next Friday. That's what the song says. Literally says, uh, you're thinking about next Friday, you're thinking about the end of the month. Like, why don't you start living in today? So I was like, well, these cows have an ability that I don't, because I'm always worrying about the next paycheck. I'm always worrying about the next Friday, which is literally what the song says. But naked, and then it comes the naked cows running around. That is like, it's a representation of them incredibly free. They are like, there's nothing to worry about, just today. I don't know what happened tomorrow. It will be good or it will be bad. It will be whatever. But for now, I'm just a cow. And I'm just naked running around. I'm just totally free. So that's what that means.
That's interesting. I mean, the messages behind both of those are great. The titles just kind of throw you for a loop when you're going into it. You're like, not really sure what to expect here, but then it's like if you listen to it, it's like, okay, there's actually like something like kind of deep and meaningful behind this. So,
Yeah.
why animals?
Well, I love animals. I just love animals, and I just, in general, not only cows. I think to a certain degree, I not only love them, but I kind of admire them, because they have this ability of not caring about the future and not ever living in the future or in the past, just in the moment. Like, what I'm a dog. What do I want to do? I want to eat. I go and eat. Um, I want to drink. I go and drink. I feel like playing. I go and play. You know, humans, we don't have that. We don't have that.
Right.
And even if we try, we don't, because we have to work. We have a schedule, which is awesome to like. It's important to have a schedule to get things done. That's completely something that we have to do. But they are so free. So as I said, I love animals, and at the same time, I admire them. I admire their living in the moment mindset.
It's true. The human race does not live in the moment nearly as much as they should.
Yeah,
That's an interesting way of thinking about it. I never really thought about it like that.
yeah, yeah. It's just kind of weird, but
Uh, So, what ultimately is it that motivates you to continue to make music, continue to write new stuff, continue to put it out? Like, what is your driving force behind all it is that you do?
um, there's many different things, but ultimately, and I think the more primitive one is that I love to stay alive. I love to still be alive and be wanting to live. And for me, music, when I discovered the love that I had for it, it was not like, it was of course something like I love it, it's great and all of that, but it was something like a curse, you know? It was like, what are you gonna do? Like, are you gonna do anything else? Like seriously? Like be real with yourself. Are you willing to live your life any other way than just dedicating yourself to music? And the answer was like so clear, like no, like I just don't conceive any other way of living my life, you know. um so if I'm whatever I'm doing with music, I'm listening to music. I want to stay a fan of music for all my life, even though I'm also an artist. It's important to also stay a fan. But I'm creating, I'm teaching, I'm thinking about music. So yeah, when I discovered it, it was like there's no turning back. There's no turning back. There's not really anything else I can do. Like I have no choice. Um, because I just don't love anything as much as I love music. Um, with that being said, that turns into I have to constantly do music. I have to constantly play. I have to constantly play the saxophone, play the guitar, teach. I have to constantly compose, write music to stay alive because it makes me feel alive. It makes me feel happy. It makes me, even if it's successful in for whatever standard people have or may not have, I don't care. That's not really ultimately a goal. The goal is to for me to keep being a human being that is happy about being alive.
That's a great mindset to have, and that's a great way to articulate what you just said. Like, being alive is the driving force. Like, that's the life you want to live. Why would you do anything else? That's I really like the way you put that. That was
Thank you.
I'm gonna remember that. Um, so how is it that then you kind of balance that with the other things that come in when it comes to like just life itself, like being an artist and stuff like that? It's not your typical 9 to 5 where your job starts at a certain time and ends at a certain time, and anything else is like your time. It's like you kind of build your own schedule. So how do you kind of balance that with everything else?
So I think more like balancing it. It's I need other stuff. Like I just said that I literally cannot conceive a life without doing music all the time. Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, my music really needs me to play soccer. My music really needs me to watch movies. My music really needs me to just go and do whatever I feel like doing, you know? Because so many, like we have been discussing so many ideas that I had and all of that. And these ideas don't come when I'm sitting and I'm like, okay, let's make music. No, these ideas come when I'm taking out my dog, when I'm playing soccer, when I'm driving, when I'm like just I don't know, eating ice cream, whatever, just having lunch, just doing, and I love that about my mind. I love that about my mind. I don't know if all the minds are like the human mind like is in general like that, but I love it because it it's literally my body telling me, okay, we're gonna focus at the moment we need to focus. But when I sit to write, I already have an idea and a vision clear of what I have to do. And that idea, that vision was given to me having lunch, taking out my dog, showering. Oh my God, showering. I don't know why, but it must be some kind of scientific fact or something. But when you shower, I don't know, my mind goes to crazy places. And I love that because in those crazy places, in those crazy thoughts, it's where I find my best ideas, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the shower thoughts is that's just a crazy concept in itself. Everybody's got that kind of thing going on, but I'm 100% on the same page. I pretty much had the idea for this podcast walking my dogs. So it's like you need to do these other things to get inspiration to do the creative thing. 'Cause you can't
Yeah,
be creative 24/7. It's
yeah,
just not how it works. And where else are you going to get the ideas from? You're going
yeah,
to write a song about the song you just wrote? No.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
So a fun question I like to kind of include is if you could open for any artist, who would it be?
Whew, wow, that's an awesome question. I had never asked myself that. Oh my God, it has to be M83. M83, definitely. Because M83 is the connection of everything that I love. like that's and here I go in my like um fun kind of point of view, but it truly is. It truly is. And this is why. M83 has awesome guitar solos in their music. They have awesome sax. The solo of Midnight City, of the saxophone solo of Midnight City, is the reason why I started playing saxophone. Um, they have the synths. They have the kind of vintage sound from the 80s. They have the cheesiness, the stories of like it's a lot. It's music for teenagers, like the kind of uh stories that they tell is so cheesy teenager music, which I love. Uh, and not only that, they also have the film scoring. So these songs have been in a lot of different films. Uh, like I don't remember, The Fault in Our Stars is the name of that because I
Mm, yeah.
yeah, that has a bunch of M83 songs. Oblivion, Divergent. So a bunch of movies that have M83 songs, and they kind of, that's my vision. It's kind of like I want to kind of like I see them as an example for me because they are a band. They do their own stuff, but their own stuff gets put into movies, and they sometimes get to work in creating music specifically for the movies, like Oblivion, like the soundtrack for Oblivion. It was created specifically for Oblivion, but it's a song. It's just like a pop song.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awesome in both ways. Like as a soundtrack, is like, oh my God, this moment, it's so epic. Like I'm feeling so many things in this moment. But when you listen to the song by itself, it's like it's a single. It's a pop song.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Emily for sure.
That would be really cool. I would put them in the same kind of the weekend spot as like your
Yeah,
music fits right in with theirs. So that would be a perfect setup.
yeah, yeah. I would love that. That would be a dream come true, definitely.
um, so what is it that you think sets you apart from other independent artists?
Um, so mainly, I think I just released. I hadn't talked about it, but I just released a song 2 days ago, and it's called Donkeys. Um, of course, animals again. But I guess I can use this to answer this question. So where I live right now in LA, I happen to be really close to a donkey. You know, I like animals, and I discovered there's a donkey here. There's a farm back here, so I just go and hang out with them sometimes. The goats, the donkey, the horse. Um, and I think what differentiates me um, from other uh, independent artists is like I am just like a donkey. I am, I am like I don't look at reasons to keep going. My destiny is just to keep going. You know, my that's is like the same thing of keep living. You know, I just do this because I want to stay alive. You know, and I'll just keep doing it no matter what. Um, whether I have one person listening to me, where I have 80 million people listening to me, I don't care. I am like a donkey, and I say I am like a donkey because and this is kind of a funny story. I so when I started looking at the donkey, I kind of got in thinking like what is in the minds of donkeys. So I started like kind of reading about donkeys, and back in my in my country, there's a saying that it goes something like you're just it basically we conceive donkeys as stupid animals. And it's like you're so dumb, you're like a donkey or something like that. And I started kind of researching about donkeys, and I discovered they are not dumb at all. They are actually incredibly smart. Um, and I read that if you put a group of horses and a donkey, they will follow the donkey. Uh, so so I was like, oh, donkeys are super cool because everybody thinks they are dumb, but they are not. And not only that, they are incredibly strong, and they just keep on going. Like that's why they use donkeys sometimes, sadly, to take really uh, big things from one place to the other, because donkeys just it's just like their destiny to just walk, to just keep going, you know. So yeah, I think that's separates me.
So what sets you apart is that a donkey is your spirit animal.
Basically, yeah. I think, yeah, one of
um,
the things.
yeah, that's really cool. I until now thought donkeys were stupid. So I guess you're educating a lot of people right now. Um, what is the kind of impact that you want you as an artist and your music to have, essentially?
um so I mostly want people to start loving themselves more. A lot of my songs are about, I think I'm pretty good at what I do. Like like in general,
Mm-hmm.
like uh, it's about struggles, and it's about going through so much, um, but not giving up and just continue to to carry on, to keep going. So that's definitely like the most basic message that I want to give to people, is that it's not mainstream to love yourself, and I hate that. It's very mainstream to hate yourself, and self-deprecating jokes are like seem to be everywhere, and I hate that. I think that's fucked up. Like I hate it. I don't like it. Um, and then people ask themselves, why is there so many people with depression? Why we have so many issues with suicide nowadays? Well, like it's right there. Like if you keep saying mean things about yourself, and if you in an attempt to be humble, you just deprecate yourself in front of other people, because that's another approach when people just don't want to like brag or anything, so they just make mean jokes about themselves. um well, that's not the right approach to take. I think that's the most basic message of my music. That it's not bad to think that you're good at what you do. It's not bad to look at the mirror and say I look good today. It's not bad to think that you're smart. I think it's not only not bad. I think it's a basic need of the human. Like if you don't think what you do is worth it, then why would you to continue? Why would you continue if you don't think that the world is a better place because you're part of it? Like you can make something good, like help someone cross the street, or like the most minimal thing. Then why would you continue? I think it's a basic need to think that you are worth it, in so many ways, like to help other people, to serve, um, because what you do at your job is great, because if you create what you create, it's awesome, because the ideas that you have are great, because you are smart. um, so I think that's the most basic message of my music.
I think that's huge. I think I mean, just what you said, it's like it's a basic human need. Like it's
Yeah,
pretty true. And
it is.
yeah, I mean, there's a fine line between like being humble and self-deprecating, and then there's a fine line between knowing your worth and then being like cocky about it. But
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
plenty of room in between that we can sit where it doesn't have to be I think too highly of myself or I don't think enough of myself. And that's yeah, that's a great impact to want to have. That's huge. I love that.
Yeah.
Um so that kind of leaves me just down to the last question, which is kind of the main question, which is something you kind of partly already answered, but we're going to circle back to it anyway because that's what the podcast is for. Why music?
So yeah, as I said, it's more like a basic need. So I think it's to live a happy life, to live a human life, to live a dignified life. That I think everybody should have the chance of doing what they love. And I have been given the chance of doing that, which am incredibly grateful for, and I think I'm very what is the word? Very I cannot believe that I forgot that word. I'm incredibly so when privileged. Yeah, I'm incredibly privileged to have the opportunity to do music, and I think it's basic that you should do what you love, to live a good happy life. um so as I said, it's just I love staying alive, I love being happy, I love making Mateo happy. I like choosing things that I know will make me happy because I love myself. um so yeah, it comes from that, it comes from self-love, it comes from telling myself, I know you like that, I know you like this a lot, and I know you enjoy it, and I know you couldn't live without it, so we're gonna do that, we're gonna dedicate our lives to doing that.
That's yeah, I mean, I think everybody should be I'm a huge advocate for pursuing your passion no matter what it is. And
Yeah,
that's ultimately kind of what it comes down to is you should be filling your daily life with things that are going to bring you the most joy. Obviously, we can't do that all the time, especially if it's like what's going to bring me the most joy is a trip to Hawaii. Like you can't just do that unless you get up and move there. But
yeah,
like find what you're passionate about and do it. a living example of it right now. Like you just seem like you're as happy as a clam, just making music all the time. And
Yeah, and I think it has an impact on humanity ultimately. Like, can you imagine how the world would be if everybody got to do what they really love? Like, if everybody would be so happy about what they're doing, like if everybody was asked like, how was your day today? It was so cool. Like, I got to play saxophone, I got to play guitar, or I got to, I don't know, paint. I got to do, I think people would be so happy in general. It would make humanity happy in general, and that impacts the way that we live our lives, because it would ultimately end up in people just wanting to do good things, just wanting to serve each other, because they are just well, because when you feel happy, you feel like helping people, or at least I do. Like, it just makes me wanna say, like, help people, and help whoever needs it, and just be positive. So yeah, it has an impact on humanity,
oh,
definitely.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we're given those passions for a reason. So might as well do something with it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's huge. All right. Well, that concludes this episode of the Why Music podcast. Check back in next Tuesday for another conversation with another independent artist. Thanks for listening.